will call the commission meeting of Monday, May 12th, 2025 to order. A little note, we're going to have our normal public comment today, and there's a separate sign-in sheet for actual official public hearing, which is on the issue of when we change our capital planning. So the Children's Museum, you're here to comment on that, you'd sign in on the public hearing sheet. Everyone, all other issues are the normal public comment. And with that, I will ask Commissioner Sanders, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yeah.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, Alex Smith, will you please give us your executive director report?
I would be happy to. Thank you, Commissioner. All right. So it was kind of a busy couple of weeks here at the port. We had an opportunity to participate in the Habitat for Humanity Women Build event for 2025. Up in the right-hand corner is a selfie of our little small but mighty team. And we were able to, let's see, we got our hands dirty. We did landscaping, we helped frame buildings, and this is all going to build townhouses in Tumwater. It was hard work and a lot of fun, but very, very proud to support a cause that makes a huge, huge difference in our community. Then last Thursday, we had a memorable event at the Port Plaza. We welcomed Artemis Technologies for a special event where they showed the capability of their electric foil ferry. Guests had the opportunity to ride aboard their boat. It's all electric, and again, it's fast foil, so no wakes and very quiet. And it glided across Bud Inlet, offering all of the participants there an opportunity to take a ride on it. This boat highlights the exciting potential for passenger ferry service connecting Olympia to destinations throughout Puget Sound. So we wanted to thank everyone who attended and contributed to the event. Elected officials, community partners, port staff, POCAC members, and of course our port commissioners. And we have special appreciation for Commission President Vasavada, who did remarks at the event, City of Olympia Mayor Dante Payne, who also spoke, Representative Lisa Parsley, and then Artemis Technologies for all their inspiring words and for participating in the event. And last Friday, the port participated in the Lacey Chamber Golf Tournament. We are a proud sponsor of the Lacey Chambers annual golf tournament. It was a full day of just connecting with our partners in Lacey and just being out in the sun. We got to share updates on key port events and projects. And we always look for meaningful ways to support our various chambers in Thurston County. There it is. And then today, there's another milestone in the process to get the Parthia tug in its installation near the farmers market. Today, we officially broke ground on it thanks to the partnership with Thomas Architecture Studios, Forma Construction, and the South Sound Maritime Heritage Association. This will be located next to the Olympia Farmers Market, and it's been years in the making. We're very excited that its time has come, and it looks like we have a target completion date in late summer. And the goal is to unveil, the restored tugboat in time for the 50th anniversary of Harbor Days this coming Labor Day weekend in September. Special thank you to everyone who's contributed to making this project a reality. And let's see, welcome to Tina Champion. We have a new employee at the port. Tina Champion is an executive assistant for both myself and our Director of Enterprise Services, Brent Barnes. She will also be our records coordinator, taking over public records responses and public records management from from Tracy Aga. And she's going to be helping us get our records in order, especially as we look to move our buildings. So Tina's also back there tonight, and we're very excited to have her join us. And then this week, actually, starting on Wednesday, the Washington Public Ports Association has its 2025 spring meeting. It is over in Spokane, and we look forward, I think most of our commissioners, if not all, will be attending, along with some port staff, that we look forward to collaborating and just getting together with our fellow ports and learning all we can. Also this week on Wednesday, the port is sponsoring the Thurston County Chamber's annual meeting. This is its 120th anniversary annual meeting. The chamber's been around for a very long time, longer than the port. Their keynote speaker is Governor Bob Ferguson, and we will have a chance to share a few remarks in advance of the governor speaking. So look forward to doing that before jetting off to Spokane. Also this weekend, the port is sponsoring the South Sound Climate Action Convention, which is put on by the Thurston Climate Action Team. We are excited to partner on that and support their mission to build an equitable, low carbon future, improving climate resilience in Thurston County. So we'll have several folks going to join and participate in that event. And again, we're very excited to be a sponsor this year. And I think almost last but not least, just a reminder of all the events that we have coming at the port this summer. Please take a look at our website for more details on each of these. And we're very excited to be hosting all these again and look forward to seeing lots of folks there. And last but not least, these are the public engagement opportunities. So please take advantage of one or all of these to engage with the port. And that is it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to our regular public comment period. It's the opportunity for public input on the agenda items of this evening's agenda and other port business. We limit comments to 3 minutes per person, so don't be surprised when it's almost Oscar-worthy music will start. Please direct your comments at the commission as a whole and do not comment individually about port staff or members of the public. With that, we've one person signed in for public comment today, and I'd like to call up Betsy Norton, who will be speaking to us about the airport grant for taxiways.
Hi, I'm Betsy Norton. I live in Olympia. And I am also a member of Black Hills Audubon Society, soon to be South Sound Bird Alliance. But it is, but I'm just speaking as an individual today because I didn't get together soon enough to get authorization. I just wanted to share with you, first, this is just a map that I have, that I put together with GIS from the designated critical habitat overlay on the Olympia Airport. And then if the sections in yellow here are the sections that of critical habitat that are basically going to be lost when you put in the taxiways, because the realignment basically brings pieces of the operational pieces of the airport together, and the stuff on the perimeter is now in the airport master plan is designated for development. So the gophers and the streak-torn larks who were sort of protected by kind of these broad taxiways are now not going to be. And so I'll just go ahead here. The proposal to provide matching funds is the first project in the master plan which may meet port's commercial goals, but is at the price of the loss of habitat and a near certain probability of take of these species, which are already at high risk of extinction. As you can see from my map here, the 2014 federally designated critical habitat with the preferred alternative overlay due to the movement of the taxiways reduces the habitat for the Olympic pocket gophers and puts both the gophers and the streak-torn larks at risk of being killed in the process. So our recommendation is, first of all, either don't approve these grant funds, or if you do go ahead, please don't do anything until you have an HCP in place. An HCP will ensure that the port has an incidental take permit for what's nearly sure take of listed species. This will ensure you don't violate the Endangered Species Act. Secondly, please ensure when you're putting this project plan together that the design includes these elements. Prioritize minimizing the impact to listed species from the construction itself. prioritize minimizing the long-term impact to listed species from loss of critical habitat, implement recommendations from experts at U.S. Fish and Wildlife and WDFW, as well as somebody from toxicology, so the best available science will be employed to save the species. Include monitoring of species populations before, during, and after construction, so an accurate measure of species impact can be assessed and should inform the future construction as to which conservation actions are most effective on the airport property and its surrounds. Finally, just a word on wildlife. Can I go or not? No, that's it.
You're the only person doing comments tonight, so yes, we can give you one more minute to.
Okay, just a word on our conservation advocacy. We try very hard to educate, inform, and advocate for wildlife because we care about species, about biodiversity, and we're fearful for the impacts of climate change on all of us. We try hard to persuade policymakers to make choices which responsibly conserve habitat and wildlife, especially urgent when a species is at risk of extinction. The Olympic pocket gopher, the airport is the last and best habitat for them. They really aren't anywhere else. We only take legal action as a last resort when we believe decisions by policymakers pose a severe threat to species existence. So please find a way to make decisions which conserve wildlife and their habitat, along with your economic goals. It's not impossible for development and conservation to coexist. Please find a way for the airport and the listed species to survive and thrive together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. With that, that completes our public comment portion of there's a new, that person was not up before. Okay, that's, all right, I see we have Lee Reiner signed in to comment. And we'll start the timer now. Lee Reiner?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Many of us, as was just noted by the last speaker, dearly care about Tumwater. We've lived here for 40 years or more. We care about the wildlife. We don't want this to become another Tacoma. We think that we can have a beautiful Tumwater without filling it full of warehouses, as the Port of Olympia has been voting for airport expansion near the Olympia Airport. We feel that we can have a beautiful area for future generations and not potentially affect the Tumwater aquifer from de-icing activities at the Olympia Airport, and also the airport expansion, which is the airport master plan. We understand that this airport master plan has within it expansion of 130 airplane hangars so that the billionaires, the private Learjets, can fly into Tumwater and do their thing on the taxpayer dime. And the rest of us, we don't have Learjets. So we're concerned that the Port of Olympia keeps voting in lockstep together. Very little comments, very little discussion by the Port of Olympia commissioners on these big issues about aquifers and water. You said you were going to have a workshop so that we could discuss this. We have not seen the workshop. Your manager, Alex Smith, had told us again and again we were going to have a public gathering so that we all could ask questions on many of these issues. And so far it hasn't happened. So we keep being very, very hopeful that we can all discuss these very difficult issues. They're complicated issues, and that's why we need a community forum, a community workshop to discuss these issues. Also, essentially, there has been comments that only a vocal minority care about these issues. I beg to differ. I think that last November, when we had the last election for the Port of Olympia officials, a group of us came out en masse and we got certain people elected because we thought they cared about the environment. They don't seem to. It's gun-ho with the warehouses. And so we're very concerned about public safety. We're very concerned about clean water. We're very concerned about air quality with this expansion of the airport for the Learjets, so the billionaires can fly in and out using the Tumwater Airport. It's affecting a lot of people. It's not a sacrifice zone, as was mentioned before by the port commissioners. No, it's our town and we want to keep it. for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That completes our public comment. We're going to item F, consent calendar, and we have 4 items on the consent calendar. Professional services contract amendment approval with Thomas Architecture Studio, Sound Direct Medicine lease assignment and amendment number 2, WashDOT grant application resolution, airport capital project, runway 1735 pavement rehab and electrical improvements. And then number 4 is the WashDOT grant application resolution, airport capital project, taxiway and apron rehabilitation. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. With that, we'll go to pending issues, and we have a briefing on our Q1 financial report from Tricia Miller, Controller. Is that how it's spelled, Ms. Miller? Is it, it's not a comptroller? Welcome.
She controls the books.
So I am Tricia Miller, the Controller of the Port of Olympia. And I'm here to report on our Q1 2025 financial report. And this is a combination of how we're doing on our Q1 and a refresher course on leading up to our 2026 budget activities that will be starting in a month or so. So today, I'm going to be talking about our revenue generating departments and an overview. Our Q1 2025 financial report, specifically the income statements. And it's important to note that these are unaudited numbers as of today. We are audited yearly, and that happens at the end of our calendar year. Within the report, we're going to have an operating performance conversation. We're going to do a high-level look at our revenue generation. We're going to look at our Q1 2025 operating performance, and a variance analysis of our operations, a quick look at our G&A and depreciation and how our operations absorb those costs, and then a look at our government services, environmental and G&A costs, and a quick look at some dashboards, and then questions and comments. So this is kind of the joint look at our Q1 as well as a refresher for everybody as to what makes up our departments. So we have 4 business lines, and our first is our Olympia Regional Airport, and it includes all departments that are physically located within the airport footprint within Tumwater. And these departments include our airport operations, the New Market Industrial Department, and the Clean Water Center Industrial Department. The types of revenues that we see in these departments are for aviation, hangar rentals, space rentals, and land rents, and non-aviation, industrial park land leases, industrial and retail space leases. Our second department or business line is our consolidated Swantown Marina, and this includes 3 departments. It's our Swantown Marina, the Swantown Boat Works, and the Swantown Fuel Facility. Types of revenue are permanent moorage, liveaboard fees, transient moorage, dry rack storage, travel lift fees, and gasoline and diesel fuel sales. Our third business department or line of business is the Marine Terminal. And this one actually has 4 departments within it. It includes the Marine Terminal Administration, Marine Terminal Operations, Marine Terminal Maintenance, and stormwater fees associated with all of these marine terminal operations. Types of revenue we see are cargo vessel dockage, service fees, handling fees, land and property rental, and stormwater treatment fees. Our last line of business is properties. And these are the port-owned land and buildings that are not included in any of the other operating departments. So this is property lease and rental general, the Market District area, North Point and East Bay. And the types of revenue are land and building leases. So this is a graph of how our operating departments are actually doing. It consists of the first line is revenues, and the next two are the actual expenses that these departments incur during their business. So when you look at it down at the end of the day, end of Q1 2025, they are doing rather well, coming in at an operating profit of 1.2 million. So just a different way to look at it is a graph, and this is an actual actual to budget variance analysis type graph. So the blue bars are actual, the orange are budget. So you can see that revenue, we're coming in under budget for the first quarter, which the biggest piece would be marine terminal. And that the difference, the 13% under budget, is due to we had 3 less ships than originally planned. Okay, this slide is looking at the operating expenses for operations. The departments are doing pretty well on expenses, trying to keep them to a minimum. You'll see within properties, they're slightly over budget. And that has to do with salaries and benefits. And we allocate salaries within departments depending on where somebody is working directly. And those allocations were not updated at the beginning of the year. So I have some work to do to reassess and look at how that is done. There will be some slight changes there to correct some reporting errors. All right, this slide, it takes our operating income, that 1.2 million, and then adds in how the operating departments have to absorb the cost of G&A, which is general and administration, and depreciation. So at the blue line, that is all the cost of the ports. So operations, they're able to absorb most of the port's expenses. There will be a little bit of change between airport and marine terminal because of the allocation of the salaries. So, but for the most part, I mean, the total's right. It's just a matter of allocating between departments. Here's a brief look at G&A expenses. These are the general and operating departments: executive, communications, finance, planning, IT, and admin. You'll see that finance is a little bit high compared to budget. And this is why we do variance analysis. It takes what we're doing and takes a good look at how we expected it to happen. And about 40,000 of that variance are costs that for our 2023 audit that concluded in the beginning of the year, and some CPA help with GASB pronouncements. They need to be accrued in 2024, so that number will go down. So we're not doing as poorly as it seems. So, but this is exactly why we do variance analysis, so that we can make sure that our expenses are recorded in the proper years and months. These are two of our other departments: government services, which is the cost of government at the port, environmental, and then G&A in total. And just a quick look at actual to budget. Environmental, Sean actually asked me about this before the meeting and I did not look it up, I'm afraid. So he's slightly over 6% over for the first quarter. So we'll go, I'll find that out and I can get the information to you.
I believe it's because Sean can't stop, won't stop.
That's right. The environment is important. All right, this is a different, one of the things that we've heard the commission say is that we want to have a operations conversation about the courts. So this is just a look at a potential dashboard of how we're doing. So a high level look and taking revenue, expenses, and our profit and loss compared to budget. So in this case, it's first group is revenue, then expenses. It's just a different way to look at it, but a quick high level way to see how we're doing as a court. And this is another example of a dashboard that we could use. It's taking our total revenue of 3.75 for Q1 and just breaking it down by a percentage of where that revenue is coming from. Any questions or comments?
I thought your overview was really concise and helpful, and I think that can help people when they're going into budgeting for the first time.
Yeah.
That was really informative.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, great report, Tricia. I appreciate your I appreciate having all of the financials in the package. I hope that there was a lot there.
Yes.
You know, I personally didn't get through all of it. But I do think it's important, and I would like to see us at some point be able to take a little deeper dive and just kind of understand some of the departments. And you know, I know as far as the analysis, the comparison analysis, and that we've got some seasonality
Right.
issues there, and like you said, with the marine terminal missing a couple of ships that we expected. But I think, you know, at least for myself, I would really like for us to be able to go over fairly in depth those financials, because what I've seen that you put in the packet for us today is very informative, and we should be able to really understand by the time we've had a chance to talk it through.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll just say thank you. I'm thrilled by the transparency here and having a better baseline for us to start our conversations as a governing body. Thank you so much for your work.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, that will conclude our briefing. Thank you, control person. And we'll move to our action calendar, which is so special, and that I have a special script. So we are going to be opening up a public hearing for declaring certain improvements to real property surplus to the Port of Olympia's needs, surplus to our needs, and amending the Port of Olympia's comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements is now open. Our comprehensive scheme is under state law, how we kind of project into the future what we are planning to do. All persons wishing to be heard should have signed in at the sign-in table, or if attending virtually have at this point, please raise your hand or place a note in the chat feature. If you have not done so, please do so now. In this public hearing, we will receive public comments on the port's proposed finding as surplus the property that is described as follows. The legal description, lot 6 and 7 of East Bay Redevelopment Short Plat, City of Olympia Master File 070154 in Olympia, Washington, and all improvements located on these parcels as required by state law. RCWs 5320.020 and 5308.090. Before the port may take the action of disposing of this property, we must modify our comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements to find the property surplus to our needs, RCW 5308-090. The port gave proper public notice of tonight's public hearing as required by statute by publishing notice of the public hearing once a week for 2 consecutive weeks in our paper of record, The Olympian, on April 30th and May 7th, 2025, also pursuant to state law, RCW 5320-010. So the public hearing will now proceed in an orderly fashion. Everyone who wishes will be given an opportunity to be heard. We ask that anyone making comments provide your name and where you reside, and please speak slowly and clearly as these proceedings are recorded. Each person will have an opportunity to address the commission for a period not to exceed 3 minutes. I ask the commissioners and myself hold any additional comments until after all public comments have been received in this case. This public hearing is dedicated for the presentation of testimony. No public debate is allowed. Before hearing from members of the public, I call on Mike Reed, who will make the staff presentation. Mr. Reed. Thank you.
All right. Well, good evening, commissioners. For the record, again, my name is Mike Reed. I'm the Community and Economic Development Director here for the Port of Olympia. And so tonight's presentation, as clearly outlined by Commission President Lasavada, is associated with a public hearing. And what you're ultimately doing is you'll be needing to approve or take action on 3 separate resolutions. I will explain later, but you unfortunately cannot just bulk them together into one motion. We will take a motion and action on each individual resolution. I'll get more into detail on that in a second. As background, we held an advisory on this matter on April 14th, and it is all related to the sale of 2 parcels that the port owns to the city of Olympia for the expansion of the Hands-On Children's Museum. At that April 14th meeting, we went into a full project background and history. You can see the image on the left side of the screen is an older document that was really one of the early visioning documents for this project as part of the what we called Energizing East Bay and Beyond. We then also on the 14th, we took you through the purchase and sale agreement terms. We talked about how this project aligns with Vision 2050, and then we also invited the executive director and CEO of the Hands-On Children's Museum, Patty Belmonte, to talk in more detail about the Hands-On Children's Museum and their impact on tourism and activation in our community. So I am not doing a major deep dive on everything that I told you on the 14th. I'm going to hit the high notes. So with that, we have a purchase and sale agreement. That a copy of that item is a part of the commission packet and was published. There are 2 parcels that we would be selling, 427 Marine Drive and 517 Marine Drive. The sale price is $2.1 million. That sale price was determined through a negotiated process in which both parties obtained certified appraisals on the properties, and we ultimately negotiated and determined this would be the fair price for that property. The closing date for this transaction will be November 7th, 2025. It could occur earlier than that, but no later than that date. We went into detail on the discussion that there is an environmental covenant that they are required to follow DOE's prescriptive actions on that property in terms of how it would be developed, that there is more detail in the actual purchase and sale agreement and an actual copy of that covenant that gets recorded connected to the actual deed of that property. So when it sells. And so there's also an additional deed restriction that we've also placed on the property that would limit the city of Olympia's use of that property specific to a children's museum. Should they choose not to do that, then there are provisions in which we can re-obtain the property. Here's an image of the location of the property. You can see on the bottom of the screen is actually Marine Drive as it's heading towards the farmer's market and marine terminal towards your right hand of the screen. So it is the piece of property that makes an L shape behind the Children's Museum and adjacent to their current parking lot. As mentioned in the script, this is a small font, but you can see in the script that Commissioner Vasavada read, we are required when we do a public hearing to post a notice in the newspaper of record, which for us is the Olympian. Just wanted you to see, we did that. This is what it looked like. So the 3 resolutions that you need to pass, and you actually have to pass them in this actual order as well. The first one, Resolution 2025-04, it actually surpluses the property. So it's making the pronouncement that we no longer need this property specific to the operations of the port, and that it is undeveloped, underutilized, and we can thus surplus. We don't need to use it. And that surplusing it and selling it is actually, it's in the public interest to do so. Your next resolution is amending the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. As discussed, this is our primary sort of planning guiding document that we are required to have. So once we have said we're going to surplus this and we don't need it anymore, we actually would then take it out of the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements and no longer show it in that document. And then finally, and this is just a clip from this, it's to authorize the sale of the real property. It actually authorizes Executive Director Smith to be able to act on your behalf in that transaction, sign the document, and follow through with all the necessary procedures. So now we would start the public hearing procedural process. I've concluded my presentation. We'll get you the sign-up sheet. Your public testimony would occur. And then once everybody has been able to testify, you close the public comment or the public hearing comment period, and then you can take action, deliberation and action amongst yourself at that point. So with that, I'll stop there. Now we'll bring you the comment sign up.
Like, is there not, if commissioners have questions, is now the time, if there are any questions?
You can ask me questions now. It may be better to ask questions after you've heard all of the public comments.
Well, thank you. We have, just let you know, we have a sign-in.
No one signed up.
Okay. So we're going to have, no one in the room signed in to make official comment on this. And that means now I'll go to the person signed in remotely, and that's Lisa R.
You can make public comment if you'd like. It's okay.
So we'll go to Lee Reiner, and the timer is 3 minutes.
Thank you very much for this analysis of these parcels that are for sale by the Port of Olympia. I think that in the past, there has been much discussion over the past 3 years regarding the isthmus. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about this parcel of land on the isthmus. Essentially, there are hot spots on the isthmus with dioxin. Dioxin is a toxic chemical that was put on the isthmus historically from log yards. And so currently the Port of Olympia is involved in understanding where these hot spots of this toxic chemical, this dioxin, is. I believe that some of the hot spots were near the Hands-On Children Museum and adjoining properties. I know that was just mentioned a moment by Mr. Reed, that essentially there are Department of Ecology covenants talking about this property, and many of us in the past have commented on, we wanted the port to have transparency with us, with the general public, about these toxic hotspots. We have little children out there at the Hands-On Children Museum. I can see them. They're so beautiful, running around, getting in the dirt, rolling around. I know that in the past, they were saying, oh, as long as we put some asphalt down, it's good enough. Everything is covered over by asphalt, but inevitably, little kids get into all kinds of stuff. And you never know when one of those little kids is going to get into the dioxin. And so we're concerned on another public health issue regarding selling this property that many of us have heard there were hot spots, contamination. We had asked in the past the Port of Olympia to be more transparent about these hot spots. Where were they on the isthmus? We asked for maps. We asked for more information from the port. And to my understanding, it was not forthcoming regarding the specific hotspots near the Hands-On Children Museum. If you look back in public records, you can see this long debate about the Hands-On Children Museum being a polluted site. And so many of us are still concerned. The remediation for these hotspots, what was done. And I don't know if anybody else is going to be allowed to make public comment regarding transparency, regarding polluted land that's now going for sale. And we'll see how it turns out. Thank you.
That was the last person signed in to comment, but I will see if there's anyone else who'd like to make comment. If so, they should make sure that they sign in, and I'll leave it for a second.
Sign in sheet if it. So.
You don't sign.
Well,
I think we're fine.
okay, that concludes our testimony. And with that, there being no further testimony, I will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Now the commission may discuss this matter.
I just wanted to ask Mike, do you receive any public comment or questions from that Olympian ad?
No, I did not.
Just curious. Is there anything else? From what? From the Olympian ad that we posted?
Oh,
Yeah, I received
I guess.
no response to the legal notice.
Mr. Sanders? Mr. Isle?
I really have no questions.
Commissioner Harding?
I think we've had substantive briefings on the environmental condition. Is there anything else that you want to say around hotspots or anything that?
I would say that this site is probably one of the most heavily classified and scrutinized site that we have in Olympia in terms of the amount of testing and rigor that went into that. There is still information available on the Department of Ecology's website concerning various brownfields and how they will be mitigated and managed. The Department of Ecology is the lead when it comes to determining the appropriate ways to manage and mitigate and remediate brownfields. I would say this additionally, and this goes above and beyond. There's no doubt in my mind that we will meet and surpass the necessary pieces associated with what Department of Ecology is telling us. I have worked with the Hands-On Children's Museum, and you heard from them at your advisory last time. They took measures above what was required by adding additional fill in areas where they may not have needed to. There is no place that I feel cares more about our children and the safety of our children than the Hands-On Children's Museum. So the idea that they would be intentionally remiss associated with caring for our kids, I don't think is a concern that I have. And I feel very confident with the measures that the Department of Ecology has placed on the property and the City of Olympia's ability to meet them as we proceed.
And I would just say from a commissioner perspective, for those not in the room, we have at least 6 representatives of the Hands-On Children's Museum Board who are dedicated and committed to creating this resource for all of the kids in our community. And so I would echo what you said, Mike, that they're taking every concern and care to make sure that this is a safe place that supports everyone.
Thank you. And I recall at least 3 separate occasions in which we did discuss the environmental process, and also the part of it that happens after land starts to move into development, and the Children's Museum's own policies that go above and beyond the law. So I'm glad to hear that.
Before you close.
Commissioner Harding?
I just want to say, I think that it's good to remind ourselves that sites don't get cleaned up without something occurring on them. In this case, the expansion of the Children's Museum. And as we look at other sites where we are looking at development, partnering with environmental remediation, this is a great example of this site is going to continue to be improved because of what's happening on it. And so I think it is a good lead example for future development on the peninsula as well.
And just in closing, I'm really glad that Director Smith created this position that's community and economic development. And that this parcel of land, we have the ability to sell it and to maintain in its deed, the idea that we want to maintain it sort of for public community purpose. It could revert to the port if at some point. It's unthinkable that there wouldn't be a world-class hands-on children's museum in the city of Olympia. So, but I think it's one of the examples of why I think it's great to have public ports that own critical lands near your waterfront in premier places. And we want to thank the Children's Museum for their partnership and leadership in their vision for the community. Thank you.
So with that,
We have finished our discussion, and after discussing tonight's public comment, now the commission will vote on the series of resolutions, starting with the one to surplus the property described at lots 6 and 7 of the East Bay redevelopment short plat in Olympia, Washington.
Fair point of order. Do you need to close the public hearing formally?
No.
No.
So what I'd like is to start with, oh, okay. There being no further, I think I will close the public testimony portion of the hearing,
yes.
not the hearing. So do I have anyone to bring a motion?
I move to approve resolution 2025-04, a resolution of the Port of Olympia to surplus real property located in downtown Olympia in Thurston County.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. The motion carries. Now we move on to the second motion. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution 2025-05, a resolution of the Port of Olympia to amend its comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements regarding certain East Bay District property.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, do I have a third motion?
I move to approve resolution 2025-06, a resolution of the Port of Olympia authorizing the sale of real property located in downtown Olympia in Thurston County.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. The motion carries. Yay. Improvements amended by one of these resolutions is on file at the offices of the Port of Olympia, 606 Columbia Street Northwest, Suite 300, and any member of the public may obtain a copy at this address during normal business hours. A summary of the amended comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements is also available on the port's website, www.portolympia.com, and thank you for your work today. We now will close the public, I guess we closed it multiple times. The public hearing is closed. And we're going, there's nothing on the action other calendar, there's nothing on the interlocal agreement with TRPC, Thurston Regional Planning Council.
Thank you, Commissioner. Today's presentation, this is advisory only. There's no action required on this. But we are seeking to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Thurston Regional Planning Council. They provide planning assistance and expertise to jurisdictions that do not have their own planning staff, which is the Port of Olympia. And we'd like to use their expert staff for assistance with all of the things listed on the slide, modeling, mapping, analysis, facilitation, planning, communication materials, environmental review support, and outreach to support our planning efforts. The framework would be akin to an on-call contract. where we have just a basic governing one, and then individual scopes of work will be crafted. And then right now, the way it's framed, it would automatically renew every year, just annually. And then the maximum expense over the life of the contract would be $2 million. And then there's provisions for terminating it by either party for cause. The next steps are we'll bring the interlocal agreement back to the commission at the May 27th, 2025 meeting to request approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Harding.
I serve on TRPC on behalf of the port, and it's one of the best run organizations. It is important that everyone know that their executive director's moving on, but he always says that it's his staff who does the work. So I'm certain that they'll be able to continue to carry the torch. I think this is a great idea. I think that it helps us work with a trusted institution that has community support across the political spectrum, and just have separation from us selecting consultants. So I think it's awesome.
I also think it's a great idea. I guess if I had maybe just one question for clarification, does this ILA, does you think that this would in the long run save the port money? I know it would be much more convenient and a much greater relationship, but financially, does it make sense? Will it save us money in the long run?
That's the plan. Yeah, I think the rates that they would charge us are less than what we'd get from an outside consulting firm, most definitely. And they've got a lot of expertise and know how to do these kinds of things efficiently. So, yeah.
Commissioner Montana.
Yeah, I think it's exciting that we are looking to partner with a regional partner versus, some of our contractor or consultants, I should say, that aren't exactly as experienced with Thurston County on these Thurston County issues. I would just ask, do we have any projects in mind already that we're helping?
We do. One in particular is our Peninsula Master Plan. I think we headed down a path with our consultants that was really focused on trying to do it very quickly, and also looking to do it quickly to take advantage of federal funding, which has since become non-existent. And we also realized that we really needed more of that sort of regional, sort of local eyes on the plan. So as soon as this is done, I imagine this will be the very first scope of work will be to help us with our Peninsula Master Plan.
Thank you. Okay. I would just say this for me, I'm comfortable with this coming back to us on the consent agenda, and that it feels like the staff is now really starting to kind of build the work and weft of integrating with our community. And so I'm really thankful that you're bringing this. Okay, with that, we'll go on to number 2, Port Legal Counsel Contract Amendment.
Right. Similarly on this one, it is advisory only. There's no action required. We'll bring this back to you on May 27th. Background is we entered into an agreement with our current general counsel, Dixon Froelich Phillips Burgess, on June 27th of last year. The contract is for a 1-year duration, and it has a not to exceed amount of $250,000. We have discovered that we will exceed the $250,000 limit about a month earlier than anticipated. And just for the commission's information, 2 things I noticed in particular that led us to be over the amount we had budgeted for. One was the purchase of the Dancing Goats property. That involved a lot of real estate review and drafting by our outside counsel, and then also the SEPA appeals and the attention on SEPA around the airport master plan update were not anticipated. So what we are proposing is to extend the contract duration by 1 year, and then with an additional not to exceed amount of $300,000, and then extend the contract for through June 30th of 2026. So the proposed new not to exceed amount would be $550,000 for the 2-year contract. So we'll bring this back to you May 27th to request your approval. We answer questions.
I think I've learned being on the commission that being responsive to the public requires good legal counsel. And so we are in a place where we are not cleaning up messes, we are being responsive to proactive solutions. And I really love working with Chris. I think that you do an outstanding job of being concise and giving us your opinion, which is sometimes hard to get out of lawyers. You know, it's like, well, you could do this or you could do this. And I think you give us really good guidance. And your expertise makes you efficient. So thank you.
I'll just agree with that. I think Chris does a great job. He's pretty quiet over there unless he needs to be, but overall, I think you've done a great job, and I would absolutely look forward to continuing that relationship.
I just can't help but piling on and saying I have found our council to be outstanding. And at the same time, I am open to exploring other structures if we think we could. You get what you pay for, and we're paying for some of the best counsel we could have. Whether we could have someone join the team for a comparable amount of, money, I think was a conversation we left off last year before Director Smith joined us. And that's one that I'm open to continuing to consider. Was certainly moved forward. Great. Are we done with that? Commissioner? No. Okay, we're done. Thank you, Alex. Director Smith. Commissioner reports discussion. Who would like to begin?
I'll begin.
Commissioner Sanders.
So it was really awesome to participate in Women's Build, Habitat for Humanity, the day after my birthday. Oh. And Alex, she was amazing to be able to go out there and then come right down to Artemis from building houses. And so I just want to thank the port staff and everyone involved in bringing Artemis to the port, because it was something dear to my heart from day one. And so it's really exciting to see that that come to fruition, and hopefully that, you know, it will become a reality in the future. Innovation and technology, and really addressing climate change and looking at clean and green energy has been a passion of mine as a commissioner. And so to see that happen was truly amazing, and looking to working on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Isle.
Okay, sure. Well, there's a few things that we've all attended that I think were outstanding events. Our dinner with the Tumwater City Council, I think, was very productive, and I look forward to more interaction with them. The Artemis boat demonstration was outstanding, and Commissioner Vasavada, you did a great job making your comments. Let's see, the Lacey Chamber, the Lacey Chamber golf tournament, I think we got robbed because I think other teams were cheating. But, other than that, I was proud of how we did that, how we did in that tournament. Tabor was there, Dylan and Mackenzie. So I think we all had a great time. And it was a lot of fun to be out there. Let's see, then I think that's it. That's all I have for today.
Thank you. Commissioner Harding.
My quote today is from Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. He's a Holocaust survivor. If you haven't read that, I would highly recommend it, as well as Edith Egger, who wrote The Choice, 2 Holocaust survivor books that I put in my signature line, attitude is everything, and I was reflecting on why I feel that way. And a lot of it is learning from people who've had such experiences. So Viktor Frankl writes, the more one forgets himself by giving himself to a cause to serve or another person to love, the more human he is, and the more he actualizes himself. Self-actualization is possible only as a side effect of self-transcendence.
Thank you. Commissioner Montano.
Beautiful quote, Amy. I just wanted to mention Habitat. That was a great project. Great to be out there with the team. You know, Damien and Hannah did great too. It was wonderful to get to know a few port staff members better. And then they have a project coming up with 102 new houses out on Boulevard. So I want to help. And if anybody else wants to join, let's do it. That's pretty cool. It's 100 more houses for people here in our community, you know. And then Artemis, so amazing. That was cool technology and I just want to be a part of what's next. You know, how can we bring them here? What's the plan? City of Olympia, Inner City Transit, how can we partner to make this happen?
I think I'll jump on that. There's no doubt that many in the community who saw the news clip or were able to experience the ferry themselves are all in, would love to see this asset. And of course, the real question then is, how would we finance this? Because fare box recovery alone wouldn't cover the full costs probably of any ferry, at least when we first start. So I look forward to kind of jumping in and tackling that financing question, looking at opportunities ahead, like FIFA World Cup next year, whether it's possible to lease a ferry to sort of pilot what that looks like for our community and not lose the momentum, because I have seen comments from folks who've been engaged in the port over the last several decades who said, oh, I've heard this before. And I think what was so exciting about that technology is it is game changing in our ability to possibly reach the goal this time. So I really want to thank Emily Gerton and Tabor, who along with Mike Reed helped kind of put that event together with very little notice. It was wonderful and it just feel like we've turned a new page at the Port of Olympia, and it's been so wonderful partnering with the people across this commission and the staff you've built, Alex. So with that, we will go to your other business. What other business could you have? Does anyone have other business?
Ma'am.
Then meeting announcements.
Great. And before we get to the meeting announcements, I want to do something I was derelict in not doing previously, but Brent Barnes is here and Brent is our Director of Enterprise Services. I failed to introduce him to the commission the last time he was here. So I was derelict in that. My apologies, Brent, my apologies, Commissioner, but he is hit the ground running and is whipping us into shape, which is okay, meeting announcements. Monday, May 19th, we're going to go back to having some commission work sessions. At this commission work session, we're going to talk about the Waterfront Center and where that was left off and where it is today, and also have a good discussion with the commission about that, as well as agenda setting. We want to make sure we have an opportunity for all commissioners to participate in talking about what we'll bring to you. On Tuesday, May 20th is the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. It's at 5 o'clock in this very room. On Tuesday, May 27th is our next regular commission business meeting. It is on Tuesday because Memorial Day is on Monday the 26th. And then our first meeting is in June is on June 9th, again, 5:30 p.m. here in this room. And that's it.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.